I have returned home after quite the wild week. Uh, so I was staying at Storm's camper for about 5 days, and for those of you who don't know, Storm is the guy who was featured in Trash Boy and Friend Anti-Drug PSA, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, we were hanging out at his camper, uh, and I'll just say a lot of spooky stuff happened. Like, it all began my second night there. We kept feeling paranoid, especially me, and we felt like something was watching us from the woods. And as we kept glancing over into the woods, we kept noticing this strange light coming from behind some of the trees. At first, we thought it was a flashlight, but as we kept seeing it, we kept noticing it was moving too fast, and it was too high up off the ground to be someone holding a flashlight. We saw that about 7 times that night, off and on. Well, after Storm went to sleep, I couldn't sleep, so I stayed up all night that night. Didn't go to sleep until around 7, and then woke up at 10. Well, around 5 in the morning is when another strange thing happened. In the corner of his camper, Storm keeps this little laundry hamper, and it was full of clothes. So, this thing had been sturdy the entire time I had been there. Like, nothing would have moved that. And there was no sudden gust of wind that had somehow made it into the camper or anything either. It was very tame outside. The laundry hamper gets kicked in my direction, and all the clothes sort of like launch at me. And it was spooky as hell. Because I'm just sitting there on my phone, and then suddenly it's just like, whomp! So, then, the next night is when we experienced some of the other really, really creepy stuff. Like, Storm's girlfriend ended up staying the night with us that night, because she was over the previous day, and we had all kept seeing the weird orb of light in the woods. And so she convinced her parents to let her stay the night so that she could help us sort of scout for paranormal shit. So we decided to go a little overboard with it, and we downloaded a bunch of EMF apps and whatnot. And we kept feeling this really eerie feeling coming from behind, or not behind, but like from the back room of Storm's camper. Now, I feel like I should add, that day, Storm and Shanna had discovered a little trunk in this bedpost in the back. Now, the bedpost is something that they hadn't used, like, at all, because the back room had, like, a leak in it or something, and none of us had gotten around to getting that part of the house fixed up yet. Anywho. So, after they discovered that and showed it to me, Shanna, which is Storm's girlfriend, got into the trunk. And she immediately felt wrong about that. And after that, we just kept feeling like something was back there. And so one of the apps that Storm installed was like a sort of thermal sensor. And whenever we pointed it at the room, or at the door to the back room, there was just the thermal print of a hand on there, on the knob of the door. And we tried to rationalize this by being like, okay, well, maybe that's from us continuously opening the door and whatnot. So we decided to test that. One of the knobs to one of his cabinets is the same as the one to the back room. So I held my hand on that knob for a good minute. Nothing. There was no print there, nothing whatsoever. And something just felt wrong. Like, so after a little while, we were just sort of walking around the camper, and there were certain spots where we would just start to feel heavy and like we couldn't move, almost. And something kept telling Storm to turn the lights off. So we ended up going to the gas station. We got back to the camper. And when we did, we were all kind of tired. So we were sort of just laying around and stuff. And occasionally we would all sit on the futon type couch thing that Storm has, which is where I had been sleeping. And we would just look out the window to see if we could spot that white light from the night before. Now, personally, I didn't see it. Storm said that he saw it once or twice. But something kept drawing all of our eyes to the back room's door. Like, it just felt like something was there. And it was creepy. So, after a little bit, we all just laid down. And when I laid down, I had been on my phone for a little bit. When I turned my phone screen off, there was just this black figure, this black silhouette crouching. Now, I want to preface this by saying all the lights in the camper were off except for the two little lamps to his lizard tank, but we had that covered with a towel so that we'd be able to see the reflection side better. Well, I could still kind of see everything in his camper. This figure was completely solid. And it was just crouching, staring at me. It had no features on it that I could make out, but I could just feel it just boring into my soul. Like, dude was messed up. So I scrambled to turn my phone screen back on and turn on my phone's flashlight. The figure was gone. And I know for a fact that it wasn't like something outside that I was seeing either, because this figure was in front of the window. I could tell because his window has these like small dividers on it, and I could see it in front of said dividers. And I could make out I could basically make it out touching the floor and stuff. Like, I know it wasn't outside. And so, when I turned my phone's flashlight off, there was the figure again, staring down at me. And so I freaked out, and I scrambled to turn my phone flashlight on again. Well, I was silent for a minute, trying to process what the hell I had just seen. And so finally, I speak up. And as I'm about to say figure crouching, Storm says those words too. Well, there had been a figure behind his trash can, staring at him and Shanna, that he had seen. And when I first turned on my flashlight, his figure had disappeared too. Although his didn't come back, like mine had. So, we both saw these just crouching silhouettes staring at us. So we dubbed them the Crouch Boys. So that we could sort of like make light of the situation. But something about them just felt off. And just malicious is the best word I can use to describe it. So, we all ended up finally being able to sleep. And then the next day we had been out all night from this camper. We got back around, I want to say 11 at night. So, that night, not a whole lot happened physically. Sort of like felt weighed down still in certain spots, but Storm and I we didn't really feel very much, but we were hearing stuff. Like, at one point, there was some sort of knocking against his tank for his lizards. Now, his lizards were basking, and they like to do that for, like, a while. And the tapping was way too loud to be either of the lizards. And it sounded like it was coming from the outside of the tank, not the inside. So that was creepy. And then later, me and him sort of just both sat up at the same time, because we heard something, what sounded like fumbling with his door, trying to get inside from the outside. Thankfully, we had the door locked, so nothing could get in. But yeah. And then this was the last day we were at his house. It was Monday. We were driving back from my place, though, because every day, we would sort of go back to my house and fill in my mother about our paranormal updates and whatnot. Christ. And on the way to my house, I think, it was either to or from, but that's when Storm said, "Cody," as we were driving. Sort of like slowed the car down, and I was like, what is it? And he said, "I just saw that light again. It like darted across the front of my truck." And I was like, what? So apparently he had seen the light again. Spooky. And then that night we kind of just, when we got back to his place, we kind of just tried to fall asleep as soon as we could, so that we wouldn't really have to experience much. So after we got back, it was pretty uneventful. And then the next day, we went to my house and slept there, so nothing happened. And then I get a call from Storm Wednesday night. Now, Wednesday is him and Shanna's date night. So, he had been out with her most of the day. Well, he said that when him and Shanna had gotten back to his camper, he could just feel that whatever the hell the entity or entities are inside his place, they were pissed, is what he said. Like, he was kind of like fumbling his words. Like, I could just tell he was freaking out. All I could really get out of him was that whatever it was pissed, and he could not stay there that night. Anywho, that is gonna do it for this video. It was very long. I'm at like 20 minutes almost recording the dub to this, but I just wanted to sort of get this video out there because I haven't uploaded anything in a while, and this is a pretty good topic to cover. Spooky stuff. I will see you guys next time. Hopefully it won't take me 3 weeks to a month to upload again, because I want to try to get stuff out sooner. Anywho, I've been rambling. Sorry. Toodles.